Hamas has reportedly agreed to the terms of the U.S., Qatar, Egypt-mediated ceasefire for hostage deal. Meanwhile, Qatar says we're at the closest point to a deal in months. And U.S. President Biden says a hostage deal is finally together. President-elect Trump says there's been a handshake. All parties involved are sounding more and more certain that the phased agreement to bring home the remaining 98 Israeli hostages and possibly end the war in Gaza is ready for signing. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
In the U.S., the current and incoming presidents are pressing heavily on the side of the hostage-for-ceasefire deal being completed in Doha.
The war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned many years of public service to never, ever give up.
Outgoing President Joe Biden said that Israel and the Palestinians both stood to gain from the emerging agreement.
We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we've structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started. They've been through hell.
President-elect Trump went even further by saying there has been a handshake and the deal could be inked by the end of the week. Speaking on Newsmax, Trump said, "We are very close to getting it done. They have been getting it done. If they don't get it done, there is going to be a lot of trouble, like they have never seen before." Over the past weeks, the staffs of the two presidents have reportedly been closely coordinated in efforts to help mediation efforts in Doha reach the finish line. Brett McGurk, Biden's leading negotiator, has been living in Doha through intense meetings and tireless work. Trump sent his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, to join the talks in what is considered a rare, if not unprecedented, move during a presidential transition.
We are coordinated, very closely coordinated, including with Steve Witkoff and Brett McGurk, around trying to bring this hostage deal to a close. And it's because there is a spirit being brought to this work which says these are not partisan issues. These are American national security issues.
And joining us now from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv with more details of what the agreement entails is ILTV's Ariella Lichiani.
A significant breakthrough in hostage negotiations has been reported, offering a glimmer of hope to families and communities across Israel. After many months of complex talks mediated by the US, Egypt and Qatar, a potential phased deal between Israel and Hamas is nearing finalization. Now, this agreement could mark a major step toward ending one of the most intense periods of hostility in recent memory, with details of the deal pointing toward a ceasefire and the release of dozens of hostages. The agreement reportedly includes the release of 34 Israeli hostages, with 3 freed immediately and 4 more in the following week. In exchange, Israel would release 1,000 Palestinian prisoners, including 190 with sentences exceeding 15 years. Humanitarian cases such as women, children, and the infirm are prioritized in the early phases. The ceasefire framework also provides displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza the ability to return north after the initial hostages are freed. The IDF would maintain an 800-meter buffer zone along key borders for up to 45 days to ensure security. Negotiations for subsequent phases are set to begin on the 16th day of the ceasefire. These discussions aim to secure the release of additional hostages and address broader issues like governance and reconstruction in Gaza. The deal also outlines humanitarian measures, including management of aid within Gaza during the ceasefire period. Mediators have stressed that both sides face deadlines, with pressure mounting. Amid cautious optimism, negotiators are racing to solidify agreements on prisoner releases, security arrangements, and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from populated areas. With the world's eyes on the region, the coming days will be critical in determining whether the agreement can bring hostages home and foster steps towards stability.
Thank you, Ariella, for the report. And joining us now with more on the deal is retired Colonel Amit Assa, former member of the Israeli security agency, or Shin Bet. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon.
So now that the deals of the agreement have emerged with both supporters and critics weighing in, it's undeniable that any deal bringing the hostages home is, of course, a positive outcome. But how does this deal impact Israel's long-term security, its strategic objectives, and regional stability?
Yes, I think that we have to understand that we are dealing with a terror organization. Terror organization meaning is aimed to keep on and live after this conflict. And what Hamas is doing now is maintaining his ability to be in the Gaza, to rule in the Gaza. And this is one thing that Israel can't bear. After 7th of October, we have to understand that this terror organization have to get down from the map of the world. As we did with Hezbollah. Hezbollah in Lebanon was hit by the ground, and we saw that now Hezbollah is not a factor in Lebanon anymore. Is a small factor. It's not aiming and threatening Israel strategically. So any kind of a deal that leave Hamas on Gaza as a ruling organization is very bad for Israel.
And so from what we know of the deal so far, one of the stated war goals is, of course, to bring the hostages home. But another war goal is the defeat of Hamas, as you said. Are these two goals compatible?
No, these two goals are against each other. You can't deal with the devil if you want to kill him. So if you are dealing the devil, you are saying that is good to be alive. And this is a thing that we can't bear. So these two goals are getting more and more against each other. And when we see a deal to release hostages, it means directly not achieving the other goal of defeating Hamas.
So Israel perhaps does need this hostage deal to bring about a sense of unity, of solidarity, not leaving anyone behind. But there is a cost to this deal, as you mentioned. Of course, we can't deny that. The release of Palestinian terrorists with blood on their hands, and also pulling out from strategic areas like Netzarim and the Philadelphia corridor, which were deemed so crucial to prevent Hamas from rearming. So how will this affect Israel's security?
I think that we achieved a lot of aims in this war against Hamas, and Hamas had a lot of strike that he can't raise his head as before, but he's still alive. So if we are dealing with this deal in some operational that gives Hamas to maintain in the northern side of Gaza, that means that we are leaving our achievement that we had in the Gaza in the northern side. It's a very big price, because you have to understand that we lost a lot of soldiers when we conquered these goals. And we have to understand that in Israel, we are divided. We are divided morally between the people that wants for any price to bring back the hostages, and the people that lost the beloved and lost the soldiers and lost the husband and sons in the war, that wants the war to be over, that Hamas will not longer be on its ground.
Now, until the hostages are not back on Israeli soil, of course, anything can happen. But what should we expect moving forward? What are the next steps that will be taken once a deal is signed?
I think that anyway, we have to be careful with believing in that kind of organization. They can do the first step, the second step, and leave us with the third step without anything. After they will have period of time of organization, organize again their troops, building their forces in the north side of Gaza. So it's a very sensitive issue. I personally is not believing in this kind of people. They are not people, they are not human beings. And when we are getting to this deal, we have to understand that we are dealing with the devil. And after the first period, the first stage, maybe they will get around and upside down, and we will not see the other hostages back.
All right, as you said, dealing with the devil. Thank you so much for your analysis today.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
And could internal political tensions in Israel threaten a potential life-saving hostage deal that officials claim is on the verge of being signed? ILTV's executive editor Maayan Hoffman joins us from the Knesset to break it down.
Well, Lidar, members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's own coalition are threatening to quit the government if a hostage deal is signed, the same deal that the Prime Minister is apparently pushing for, encouraged by U.S. President Donald Trump. This agreement could be voted on as early as today. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has called the proposed hostage deal a national security catastrophe. He stated that his religious Zionist party would oppose the agreement and is even considering withdrawing from the government. On Monday, Smotrich reiterated that the party would not support a deal involving the release of arch-terrorists, halting the war and undermining its hard-fought achievements, or abandoning many hostages. His remarks have been echoed by several members of his party, including MK Simcha Rothman, Party Chairman Ohad Tal, and National Missions Minister Orit Strak. Tal urged the Prime Minister to abandon negotiations, saying Israel should unleash hell on Gaza until Hamas is defeated. Similarly, Internal Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has threatened that his party will leave the government if the deal is approved. Together, the religious Zionist and Ben-Gvir's Otzma Yehudit parties hold 13 seats out of the government's 68-seat majority. Until now, many speculated that Netanyahu was delaying a hostage deal out of fear that his government might collapse. However, the opposition has unexpectedly offered him a safety net to ensure the hostage agreement can move forward, at least on Israel's side. Yesh Atid head MK Yair Lapid, who recently met with Qatari officials in Paris, said he believed a deal is more valid than ever and assured the Prime Minister, if you want to make a deal, I will know how to close the details of the safety net in a half an hour, implying his party would join the government to support it. Additionally, Ram head Mansour Abbas extended a similar lifeline during an interview with Army Radio earlier this week. Abbas said if a government is formed that will agree to a hostage deal and an end to the war, Ram will be a safety net that will allow Netanyahu's government to live out its days.
And the families of hostages are in the weight of their lives as news continues to evolve about the deal taking place. ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian is in the studio now with the details. Shosh, tell us what this news means for these families.
Yeah, well, first off, it's just surreal to think we're actually at this point after more than a year, way more than a year, since we saw the first agreement happen in November of 2023. So for the families hearing this news, of course, it's been a game of ping pong for them. They hear updates, from this month, and now we're finally to this point where it seems as if there's some finalization going on with this deal. I've gotten close with a few of these families. They have told me it is not a deal until they get that phone call. Specifically, one of those hostage families is the family of Omri Miran. His wife, Lishai, has been fighting significantly so often to get him back home. She told me, the minute I get that phone call is the minute I know that he is on his way back. So, of course, we don't know the conditions of these hostages, so there's challenges ahead.
And what do the families of the hostages want to see when it comes to a deal this time around?
Yeah, so they want to see all hostages, alive and dead hostages, a part of this deal. Some families say it doesn't all the hostages don't have to come out at once in the first phase of this deal, but they want to see a plan that includes every single hostage coming home, whether they walk out, whether they're brought back to Israel for a proper burial. And we're going to just take a listen to right now what some of those families have to say.
We're waiting, but me personally, I'm not going to believe anything until until I'm gonna see the hostages released next to the border. Until then, everybody can say whatever they want.
I'm hopeful that this time it's going to happen and we're going to see 98 people back home.
Must be absolute hell for the families. Shosh, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thanks.
And until a ceasefire begins, the warfare in Gaza continues. It's day 466 of the war in Gaza, and the heavy toll is continuing. 5 soldiers were killed and 10 others wounded by an explosion in a building in Beit Hanun in northern Gaza. They all served in the Nahal Brigade's reconnaissance unit. The troops were preparing explosives for engineering activities when the explosives detonated. The slain troops are named as Captain Yair Yaakov Shushan, 23, from Ma'alot Tarshiha, Staff Sergeant Yahav Hadar, 20, from Kfar Tavor, Staff Sergeant Guy Carmiel, 20, from Gedera, Staff Sergeant Yoav Pfeffer, 19, from Herzliya, and Staff Sergeant Aviel Weissman, 20, from Poria. May they all be of blessed memory. And moving on, the Islamic Republic of Iran is increasing its attempts to target Israelis by luring them abroad under false pretenses. It's a tactic the regime has been using for years, but today, the National Security Council has issued a warning to all Israelis. The details in the following report. The National Security Council has issued a warning on Tuesday that Iran has increased its attempts to lure Israeli citizens abroad in order to abduct or harm them. The warning comes following a thwarted attempt to lure an Israeli businessman to the United Arab Emirates under false pretenses. According to NSC intelligence officials, Iranian operatives contacted the Israeli businessman through the Telegram app, posing as the Persian department of the Saudi media outlet Al Arabiya Farsi, and tried to lure him to a meeting in Dubai. Additionally, the operatives sent him malicious links and files aimed at collecting information from his cell phone without his knowledge. The plot was foiled thanks to the vigilance of the Israeli businessman who alerted the NSC to his suspicions, prompting an investigation that confirmed that the style of the discourse and the request to conduct an interview on the subject of the Iranian regime aligns with known Iranian tactics. The NSC emphasized that this incident is yet another manifestation of the continuing threat of Iranian terrorism against Israelis in Israel and around the world. The Hind Rajab Foundation, the pro-Palestinian organization that has been targeting IDF soldiers abroad with legal campaigns, has now filed a request for an arrest warrant in Italy against IDF Major General Ghassan Aliyan, head of the military's Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories, or COGAT, accusing him of war crimes. The organization announced it had filed cases with the International Criminal Court and informed Italian authorities of his stay in Rome, demanding his immediate arrest. Aliyan is one of the most senior officers targeted by the group to date. The group claims that Aliyan oversaw the total blockade of Gaza and accuses him of weaponizing famine and targeting civilian infrastructure in acts amounting to genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. The group further stated that with no immunity under international law, Italy is obligated to act swiftly, and said that the ICC has already issued warrants for similar crimes against Israeli officials and that Aliyan directly supervised these policies. Aliyan is an Israeli Druze officer in the IDF, and as head of COGAT, he oversaw the distribution of millions of tons of humanitarian aid, including food and medicine, into Gaza. Targeting the man responsible for facilitating humanitarian aid into Gaza doesn't get more ridiculous than this. And moving on, the Houthi rebels in Yemen continue targeting Israel. Over the past 24 hours, the terrorists fired 2 ballistic missiles. Both were intercepted by air defense, and no injuries were reported. In the middle of the night, red alerts blared across central Israel, causing much of the country to shelter. Several attempts were made before the IDF announced that the missile was likely destroyed by air defense. Large fragments of the intercepted missile caused damage to homes in the towns of Tzur Hadassah and Mevo Beitar in the Jerusalem area. There were no injuries. And earlier, a missile was fired, triggering sirens in the Jordan Valley and Samaria, causing shelter for dozens of localities. There, too, no reports of casualties or damages.
Moving to Israel marks the beginning of a new chapter, and Pitaro Hecht helps you make it truly yours. Transform your home with interiors that blend style, comfort, and timeless design, from luxurious living spaces to thoughtful details. With high-quality craftsmanship at great value, we create spaces where memories are made. For your new life in Israel, choose Pitaro Hecht, where your home begins.
And the Shin Bet's 730 unit has just revealed a brand new armored car that is set to carry Israeli military and security personnel, including Israel's defense minister and IDF chief of staff. ILTV's Devo Klein has the details.
Israel's defense minister is set to conduct travels in this newly introduced armored vehicle, a 3-liter twin-engine Toyota Land Cruiser 300. This Land Cruiser is not your average model, as it has been upgraded by the German company Carl Friedrichs in Frankfurt to a VR9 level of security armor. The new security features include protection from armor-penetrating fire, as well as full protection from small explosions seen in hand grenades. The vehicle is also upgraded with new power steering, braking, and wheelbase configuration, allowing for the car to keep driving even with a flat tire. These upgrades put the car at a whopping weight of 6 tons, which is almost double the weight of a factory-setting Land Cruiser 300. Despite its weight, this new vehicle introduces astonishing weight distribution due to a brand new scaled chassis and a modified engine and gearbox placement, offering maximum mobility and speed. With its new chassis and exclusive security features, this 415 horsepower, 3.9-liter twin V6 is set to be among the highest level of security road cars in the world.
And do you want to transform your love for Israel into meaningful action? ILTV is proud to partner with Blessed by Israel, a company that brings you extraordinary products handcrafted by the brave pioneers of Judea and Samaria. Every purchase supports their mission and strengthens Israel's heartland. Let's take a closer look at Blessed by Israel and how you can make a difference today.
As the world moves to boycott Israel, the people working to restore life to the biblical heartland face daily challenges. Blessed by Israel offers a simple way to support these efforts by bringing unique and beautiful products from Judea and Samaria directly to you. From the hilltops of God's land to your home, you can find exceptional items crafted by families and small businesses in the heart of Israel. With U.S.-based warehouses, Blessed by Israel ensures affordable prices and fast delivery. Choose from a range of products, including skincare, artisan flowers and foods, olive oil, tahini, honey, and much more. There are many great options for giving wonderful gifts to your loved ones. Visit blessedbyisrael.com to explore these products and discover the inspiring stories behind them. Scan the QR code on your screen to take part in fulfilling God's prophecies.
And now, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Mostly clear skies are expected tonight around the country, with temperatures reaching lows of 11 degrees Celsius or 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we should be seeing partly cloudy skies and temperatures at highs of 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channel, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Ladar Gavelazi. Be well, stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.